guys, Jacob Molina here with Pro Volumes, and today we are going to be showing you how to cut out your pieces. And what we have here is our circular saw, we have a tape measure, we have a square, we have some pencils, and we have a T-square, which is optional, and then we have a just straight piece of wood that we're going to be using to act as a straight edge. Something else that's off screen is our table saw, and what we're going to be doing is just hanging over the piece that we already marked and measured out. And before we actually start cutting, if you guys didn't already, make sure you measure twice and to ensure you only cut once. You want to make sure that you have all your pieces properly marked out, properly measured, and properly drawn out. So that just avoids mistakes later on. So what we're going to do, hang this off. We're going to measure out our circular saw so we can put a straight edge on the edge here and use some clamps or screws to screw it in. And then we're going to use the circular saw and just go ahead and cut this edge off. And these tools here are just going to be used to mark and indicate and make some lines. So let's get to it. We've got our piece clamped down, it's hanging over the edge. When you're doing this, make sure that you hang the piece off with enough room that you do not cut your table. It has happened before where we've started cutting our table and we said, oh no! And had to stop the saw. So what we're going to do before we do anything else is measure our blade to the edge guard to know where we want to put our straight edge. And this piece that we have is going to be our straight edge, and it's just going to be using to act as a guide for our plate here. So what you want to do, make sure your circular saw is unplugged, and then go ahead to the inside of the edge and measure to the outer edge of that plate. Try not to put too much pressure onto the saw, just because it does move it, shift it a little bit. And what we have to the edge is 1/2. So that 1/2 mark, it takes into account the width of the blade. So we're going to come over here to our edge and measure out 1/2. I'm going to mark it. And then we're going to go ahead and use our little square here to make that line a little bit longer, so we have more of an indication. We're going to repeat the step on the other side, and after that we're going to place our piece that acts as our straight edge along that line. Alright, so we've got our piece, and what we want to do is just make sure that it is straight along the edge. So you just kind of eyeball it and make sure it's not warped or curved. And if it is good, what you're going to go ahead and do is line it up with those marks that you made. So ours is 1.5 inches. So we're going to just go ahead and place this on the outside of those edges. And then we're going to clamp it down. And with the clamps, you want to make sure they're not in the way. You don't want big clamps that are going to get in the way of your cut. So don't put your clamps on the inside where the guard would go, because the circular saw would go ahead and hit those, which you do not want. So I've got our circular saw unplugged, and we have it resting on the edge with the guard up. And right now, the blade is too deep, so we've went ahead and loosened the part to adjust it. And what we want to do is we want to lift it up to where the teeth, the peak of the teeth, are about halfway in between the edge of the plywood. So we actually need to go a little bit more. And so this is going to give you the most effective cut, just because that blade constantly has contact with it and those teeth are actually doing the cutting motion. We have the blade depth set, and we're almost ready to cut. One more thing that you need before you actually make the cuts is a pair of safety glasses. Anytime you are doing woodworking and you are cutting something, especially with power tools, you want to protect your eyes. It can very well happen that something just flings up, hits your eyes, and is not pleasant. You can actually go blind. So, safety glasses on. Now we're ready to cut. We're going to connect to our power and get this piece cut. We've got our piece cut out, and it is now into a more manageable size that we can take over to the table saw. If you did want to, you could keep cutting these out with the circular saw. We just find that we're a little bit more precise with the table saw, and it goes by a lot quicker, so that's what we like to use. Alright guys, so we got our table saw. And this particular table saw is a Cobalt with a 10-inch blade. It does rotate to 45 degrees. At the moment, we aren't putting any of the chamfers on them. We're just cutting them as straight edges. And we're going to do another video on how to put those chamfers on it. So with the plans, it comes with chamfers. And at the moment, we are ignoring those and just cutting these as straight pieces. As far as setting the depth of the blade, you want to go ahead and do the same thing with putting the teeth about halfway in between the actual working piece, and make sure you wear safety glasses. Another thing is, if your saw is pretty loud, if it's over 80 decibels, I suggest you guys wear ear protection, so some sort of earplug or earmuffs or something like that, just to make sure you're protecting your ears, your eyes, and everything else you can. With our table saw, we do have a vacuum set up to try to minimize the amount of sawdust, and we have a dust collector along with that, and it's amazing how much of a mess it has saved us from cleaning up. So I'm going to show you guys that right quick, and then as far as everything getting cut, we'll get it all cut. So the vacuum just connects to the dust collector, which is connected to a 5-gallon bucket and has that attachment on top. That one's called the Dust Deputy, and then that goes into the table saw or whatever piece you're working with. So we like to use this for just about anything that's going to spread dust, and that has an attachment for a vacuum and hose. So we think it is an awesome investment and has saved us a lot of mess. The pieces have been cut, and next what we're going to do is just run them on the belt sander for a quick little cleanup on all the little edges and nicks that may have come up. So what we went ahead and did is just kind of assemble it and try to make sure that everything looks the way it's going to be cut when it has that chamfer. So that's the next steps that we are going to be doing. And what a chamfer is putting an angle in it to where those pieces will meet up, and when they meet up, they should line up perfectly to where they just kind of sit together, and then we would do the assembly. So the next video will be chamfer, and with that being said, we hope you guys learned something, and we hope that you are able to make awesome volumes like us. If you need the plans or need some more information, we do have a how-to book, and we do have those plans on our website, provolumes.com. Again, this is Jacob with Pro Volumes. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button.